heaven?
No. It's Iowa.
Fellows, on Saturday, I saw a discarded quarterback become more powerful than the Golden Gophers.
Athens should know when they're conquered.
PJ, would I? Strength and honor.
Kelly McManus is Greek, not Roman, right? Huh.
Shut up, Spaniard.
This podcast we record will echo an eternity.
We're talking Gladiator, the Pot of Dreams.
At my signal, unleash hell.
Who is he?
I'm required to kill, so I kill.
Tell me your name.
My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander of the armies of the North, loyal servant to the true Emperor Marcus Aurelius, father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next. Win the crown, and you will win your freedom.
I am not entertained!
Today I saw a slave become more powerful than the Emperor of Rome.
I will give them something they've never seen before.
Am I not merciful?
What we doing live? Echoes in eternity.
Thank you for listening. Today we're talking Gladiator, Pot of Dreams. If you listen, we will pod. So, Best Picture winner, Best Actor. Second highest grossing movie of the year in 2000.
In the year 2000, yes.
In the future, year 2000.
Yes, year of our Lord.
Year of our Lord.
2000. Second highest grossing movie.
Kevin, how come those drafts you sold me won't mate?
They're queer, Eric.
They just stand around eating, not mating. At least you're not grabbing my testicles when you tell me that. What a move. Guy just comes in here trying to sell you. Isn't that guy is that the same guy from like The Mummy? That I've seen that guy in a bunch.
Yes.
He's like selling Brandon. He's like the same character, right? He's like selling a slave in The Mummy, right?
He's a character actor, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I think he plays just a skizzy slave trader guy.
In the desert.
In the Middle East, yes.
Sorry, continue. Forget the giraffes.
I've a question for Eric here. I mean, world's biggest Mission Impossible 2 fan, possibly the world's biggest Gladiator fan. What you get approached in a good son scenario, you can only save one movie. What movie do you save? They're both
Gladiator's a great. It's a legit great movie.
Okay.
Mission Impossible 2 is fun and I love it. This is like a great movie.
But it's not. Yeah. Okay. No question. It's your Elijah Wood. Got it. Okay. That's the movie you're saving. Okay. You mentioned last week. You watch this literally every year?
No, not every year, but every few years. I'll pop it.
I want to see.
So I texted both of you guys. Last week was a bummer of a week with the election. Just the thought of watching this movie really just made me perk up. Really, honestly, that's the power of like a great movie. Is like I can go to ancient Rome. I can watch Russell Crowe fuck dudes up, and I can be transported to a different time and not worry about the world I live in right now. So really did the job for me.
I want to see can you at some point write up a list of like Eric's regulars, the movies you watch every other year? I just want to see the list. What's the list? Because you seem to have just a rotation of movies that you hit up.
Well, it's a lot of Nolans and Tarantino's, but hey, man, Ridley Scott. Look at
Is this the only Ridley Scott on that list?
Alien is definitely on the list. of
Okay.
every couple of years. I'll watch that. Blade Runner's more of a I mean, I've seen it probably 4 or 5 times, but
And you've hated it every
maybe
time?
only maybe 3 times. I don't know. I like that movie. It's a great movie, but that's not like a pop it in and just watch it kind of movie.
No, it's not an easygoing, smooth,
Yeah.
highly entertaining watch. It's slow and deliberate. I'm surprised you even like it. I figured you would think it was just like boring and annoying. Okay.
But yeah, Ridley Scott is man. I don't think he gets enough credit as a like all-time great filmmaker because he's got some bad movies in his.
So you can have bad movies and great movies.
The
and still
Martian.
be a great
The
director.
Martian is a movie I'll watch every. That's such a fun movie. So good.
Okay, so you can have some great movies and some bad movies and still be a great director. I just want to get you on record as having said that.
Yeah, I think he's in a different class than like a Tarantino or a Nolan, where just everything they make is great.
Sure, I'm not saying he's the best of all time. I'm not trying to say. I'm just. We've talked before about directors that have like some movies that are very good and then some that are bad, and then you're like, maybe this guy isn't a very good director. You go on the other way with it. I think it's interesting. But Kevin, you picked this movie. What inspired you to go back to ancient Rome and watch an Australian playing a Spaniard Roman kill a bunch of dudes?
Wow, that reminds me of Highlander and the Spaniard being played by a Scottish man in that movie.
He's supposed to be Australian. That. Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. That's right. Sorry, that's an aside. I'd forgotten that.
No, that's an all-time Highlander.
Well, or Hunt for October, where he's a Scottish guy playing a Russian, right?
That's right.
Sorry.
Yeah,
what a chameleon that guy is.
Yeah.
Really
Sean
melts
Connery
into
really
his
could
roles.
play any race, accent. He could really do them all.
Yeah, as long as they're a horny Scotsman.
Right. He's really the John Travolta of his time, right?
Yeah. So Gladiator 2 is coming out in November. We're recording this in November 2024. So I thought it was time for a revisit. And I personally love Ridley Scott. Growing up, Blade Runner was a big movie for me, and so was Alien.
Agreed.
And so I even like his not so good movies. I think Kingdom of Heaven, is that one of his?
Orlando
Yep.
Bloom.
Yeah.
I enjoyed
I
that
think I ever
movie
saw it.
too. And that's
Okay.
like
I know I've seen parts of it. I don't think it's a one I've seen like the whole way through. It's an epic, right? Ridley Scott's really good at these kind of like epic movies.
yes, and visually good looking movies too. I think is kind of his highlights, but he also gets really good performances. He got a really good one on Russell Crowe, who won Best Actor. I think he got some of Harrison Ford's best performances. So I think he's a wonderful director.
Yeah, he is.
The weird thing about Ridley Scott, like his brother Tony Scott, right? I often get their movies confused, like who did which one. Like, is Days of Thunder, is that Tony Scott or Ridley
Tony
Scott? Right? Yeah,
That's
but
good.
I'm just
See,
saying,
that-
like, I have to
that's-
think about it. I'm like,
Oh,
is that
I don't. Like that feels like
Okay.
a Tony Scott movie. Top Gun, like Tony Scott. It's just supercharged.
Enemy of the State. Which one made that?
Isn't that Tony Scott?
Okay, I think you're right, but
Tony Scott's are just more overtly bro-y and actiony and a little more schlocky. They're fun, but he doesn't have the visual sensibilities or the nuance and subtlety. Like, I don't think Tony would ever do like Blade Runner. That's just not the kind of movie I would ever expect Tony Scott to have been able to make. It's a little too meditative and deliberate and slow. But anyway, sorry, I don't know. Go ahead. I don't know. I feel like their styles are somewhat different. But
Yeah, I think visually they have a similar look and feel to their movies. No? Disagree?
I already said I disagree. I didn't know, like
You're talking more about like the story and the tone. I just think
it's the
like
story.
the way they
It's
look.
also the camera work. There's
You're telling me G.I. Jane doesn't look like a movie Tony Scott could have made?
I didn't know either one directed G.I. Jane. So
yeah, that's a Ridley Scott movie.
Okay, so you didn't know that.
I see what you're saying. Like the cinematography is pretty similar.
There's a gloss to it,
Yeah.
like.
Let me give you something, the kind of shot that I just don't think Tony Scott would. So, talking about Gladiator, the scene where, oh gosh, I don't know, I can mix up the names. Joaquin Phoenix's sister. What's the character's name? And you've seen this movie 523 times, Eric. What's her name?
What is her name? Boy, I don't know. There's Proximo, and that's the other guy. That's the
Proximo's Proximo's the leader of the gladiators. Maximus is, but I don't remember. What her
Commodus is her brother, Marcus Aurelius. Is it like start with an L? I don't know.
It doesn't matter, but there's a shot where she and Joaquin Phoenix are talking, and it's like
Lucilla is her name.
Okay,
I think.
Yeah, there's a scene where she is talking to Joaquin Phoenix, and in the palace or wherever it is, and the lighting is immaculate. It's this lovely classic lighting where like the light cuts through the darkness, the shadow, like, and hits her eyes, and it highlights like the fear and anxiety she's experiencing. She's like going to betray her brother, and it's incredible. It's a subtle kind of shot that I don't think you would get in a Tony Scott movie, and also even kind of some of these performances that you just wouldn't get in a Tony Scott movie. I mean,
I think it's the action. The action sequences are very similar.
That may be. I guess I haven't analyzed the action sequences.
They're kind of like the Michael Bay, Tony Scott, Ridley Scott action. Like the way they film action sequences, I think are very similar.
See, I guess I view that Tony Scott is skewing more Michael Bay on the whole.
He is. You're right. You're right.
He's just got a little bit more of that DNA in him.
Continuum of those three guys, I think.
Sure.
Yeah. No, Tony Scott, I think, has more angular cuts and quick.
Yeah, the hyper-fast editing. Some of the fights, because this movie is terrific. Some of the fights, though, there's a lot of cutting, and it's a little disoriented, and I don't love it. Some of the, especially earlier action scenes, I get disoriented and don't know what's happening. So I could see that with just like cut, boom, 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 action.
Like the way this movie starts with the battle with the barbarians or the Germans or whatever they are, like that to me feels like a Tony Scott, Michael Bay battle sequence. It's great because those guys are great at action sequences, and I love that. It's like 20 minutes too. I forgot every time I watch this movie, I'm like, I forgot there's this whole war.
Yeah, I forgot
that the movie starts
completely.
with.
I didn't remember how it began. I was totally like, oh yeah, this is how it begins. This is where those lines come.
It's great.
In.
It's like a Braveheart, like
it is
battle, you know.
Well, I was going to ask though, before we even get into Gladiator, have you guys seen The Last Duel? You guys ever watched that movie?
Yeah,
I've seen parts of it. I know what you're talking about.
Well, the action isn't like the point of the movie because it's about sexual assault and different perspectives and a whole bunch of other stuff. But there's the titular Last Duel is so incredible. That's one of the best one-on-one fight sequences I've seen in a very long time.
I saw Napoleon in the theater, his movie last year with Joaquin Phoenix, and it's not a very good movie. But there's these like battle sequences where the French army takes a castle, and it's like, holy shit, this is we never see this kind of stuff in movies anymore. It's so good.
I know he's got this classical style, like this way ancient Hollywood 50s classical sensibilities, but we're
gonna have 1,000 extras and people, you know what I mean? And
I just love that. Half of me enjoying Gladiator was just enjoying. We have a big production, big sets, whole bunch of extras, just took massive managing to make so many of these sequences happening, and that alone was enough to make me love the movie. The movie isn't just that. I mean, I know Russell Crowe won Best Actor, but I do think that Joaquin Phoenix does an incredible job in this movie. He's got so many like little quiet moments that really work. Probably the one where it's like, oh my God, this is incredible, is when he doesn't know it at the time, after Russell Crowe is going into labor and becomes a gladiator, he wants to see this famous gladiator in the Colosseum, and he pulled off the mask and he just like quivers in fear. He doesn't say anything. It's just all through his performance. You just see the sheer terror on his face, and he's like, this is incredible. Just absolute stupendous.
I love the part where when he kills his dad, these like
all these
virtues, and I realized I had none of them that are on your list. And he's like, but I have other virtues. And he's like crying and holding him and like, murdering his dad. Like I love that scene. Yeah. I think he's great in that.
Yeah. He's incredible. Every performance. I mean, he's on another plane. I mean, he really helps make the movie work for me.
I did hear recently, I don't know if it was Russell Crowe or somebody said that he was like awful to work with when they made this movie. He said that.
He wanted to quit several times.
Was it Crowe?
Yes. It was Crowe.
Yeah.
It was Russell Crowe.
He was like Joaquin Phoenix. It was one of those things where like leading up into it, they weren't even sure he was going to show up. And then when he got there, he was just like such a maniac and terrible to work with. And Crowe thought he was like totally unprofessional and like, didn't want anything to do with him, which is interesting because he's so good in it. And I mean, you could tell they kind of hate each other, which works for the movie, right? Sure. Like he killed his whole family. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I love everything. I mean, this movie has so much in common with like Ben-Hur. You could go back to the 50s and these old, I think they called them like sword and sandal epics. I mean, it's just great. And it's like, I'm so glad that we got
Lawrence of Arabia,
Sure. And we got that stuff with more modern filmmaking techniques and not having to shy away from the violence and the gore in a way that makes it hit harder.
A lot of heads getting chopped off in this movie. So many heads.
Oh yeah. The one woman gets like spliced in half by like the axle of the chariot or whatever it is. Whatever is the spur that juts out. Oh man. This goes like this and then just brutal and vicious. No,
that's what Marvel movies need. They need more of that shit. More decapitations.
You want to get 12-year-olds. You need to get 12-year-olds in the theater. It's not going to work. Too much violence.
What Kevin said, it was the second biggest movie of 2000, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw it when I was... I would have been 17 or whatever. Yeah.
Sure, but I'm just telling you how marketing executives at Marvel think. They have the biggest grossing franchise ever, built largely on the backs of teenage boys, and they're going to keep churning them out. And they're not going to all of a sudden turn violent and gory. At least not categorically. I mean, they got that with like Deadpool and Wolverine. You get that. That's like a niche project.
That's going to be the second biggest movie of 24, probably?
Yeah, that's fine. But they're still going to have their mainstream, the stupid Avengers with Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom. That's going to be PG-13. It's not going to be gory.
Yeah.
It's just not. But anyway, but I love it. I mean, it's great. It's like, man, and when Ridley Scott's gone, I mean, the dude's really old. He is the best counter argument to Quentin Tarantino, by the way. Like, I don't know, how old's Ridley Scott? Is he 80 something?
At least, something? Yeah.
He's still cranking out really good movies. Or at least movies that aren't awful, and I'm glad they exist.
He was born in 1937.
Yeah, he does have a clip. So he was 63 when he made Gladiator, 62, whatever.
Crazy, right?
How old's Tarantino? Is Tarantino 60?
Yeah, he's probably in his 50s still.
So shut up and just make as many movies as you want to, Quentin. Your 10 movie cap is so stupid. Anyway, that's my point, is that his 10 movie cap is dumb, and it's not based on solid evidence. It's just this weird romanticization. I don't know. Too insecure. I don't know what it is. Ridley Scott is still cranking out movies. He's going to try to make another Alien movie. Whatever. Dude's still got,
Well, he's putting out a sequel to this movie. Like,
yeah.
Right now. It comes out in like 2 weeks, which apparently they had giant sets. Denzel Washington, he was just talking. I saw an interview. He was just talking about what we were talking about. It's like you bring in these huge sets and you got all these people, and it's like only Ridley Scott could do that.
Yeah, and it's sad when it's gone. I haven't seen Napoleon. Even if it's bad, I still think I ought to watch it if there's big, massive sets.
Absolutely.
And action sequences.
Yeah.
Like, because the last duel, even if you didn't care about any movie, just watching the fight at the end between Adam Driver and Matt Damon, if you just watch that sequence alone, it's so fantastic. It is so brutal and tense. It feels like they nailed two guys in armor on horseback fighting what that would actually be like. And it's so brutal and intense. And that movie, yeah, I mean, it feels like the middle age. It's great. Anyway, there's so much about that movie I like. And that movie came out, whatever, like 3-4 years ago. But yeah, this movie, yeah, I mean, I'm with you. It just made me happy. But
this movie, I love the revenge storyline. So Maximus is told by the Caesar, Marcus Aurelius, that he was going to be his heir, and that he wants him to be the heir until he can give up power to the Senate, eventually to the people.
Yeah, I want to go back to being a Senate instead of a, monarchy or whatever you call it.
Yeah, a republic instead of a monarchy.
Well, is that from like when Julius Caesar took over, right? Isn't that what happened to him? He took over and never gave power back, right?
I think so. I'm not confident enough in my history to say that's totally correct. But at some point, yes, they went from a republic to an autocracy.
Isn't there a line in The Dark Knight where someone references Caesar and then Maggie Gyllenhaal's, yeah, that was Caesar and he never gave power back. Yeah, it's in reference to the contraption that they built. Never mind. That's a terrible. I'm quoting a different movie.
I'm glad you
about
could bring
history.
in a Nolan movie. I'm glad you could shoehorn some Nolan in. That guy doesn't get enough
Forget
love.
I said that. We'll delete that.
Yeah. So then, Joaquin Phoenix's character, Commodus, he kills his father once he finds out he's not going to be the heir, and he takes the throne. And he immediately has Maximus ordered to be executed, and his family executed as well. And Maximus, he frees himself and tries to stop the slaughter of his family, but he comes a little bit too late. And then he's sold off as a slave and becomes a gladiator, the titular gladiator.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really great what Joaquin Phoenix does in his role. He chews up the scenery, but not in a completely hammy way. He's really, really unlikable.
Oh, he's
the Joffrey before Joffrey, right? Like,
yes, thank you.
Yeah, he's vile. Oh, absolutely, yes.
Did this movie come out before the Lord of the Rings books? Or sorry, not Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
Obviously not Lord of the Rings. The Game of Thrones.
One of them was written in the 90s. I don't know. I think maybe the first Game of Thrones might have been. I don't know. Actually, I could be wrong, but I thought,
because this to me, like, I was this time around watching this movie, I thought a lot about Game of Thrones. I was like, holy shit, there's so much in this that's like, there's the incest, there's the like backstabbing and the palace intrigues, like stuff that made Game of Thrones so good. And I was like, man, is there some connection here? Because Gladiator's really, like, you don't think of that when you think of that movie. You think of are you not entertained? Like all that shit. But it really has a lot of that, palace backstabbing and who's going to take power and who wants the throne and all that shit.
There were actually two Game of Thrones written before this one came out. And the third one came out in the same year as Gladiator.
So did Ridley Scott read Game of Thrones? Is like, I got to do this.
Maybe. There's been palace intrigue stuff for a long time. I mean, I think history buffs got a lot of that if you really paid attention. But maybe he could have read Game of Thrones. Been like, this is what I'm going to do, baby.
Well, because I mean,
it's like
this story is
it's
fiction.
Like, yeah.
I mean, yeah, Marcus Aurelius was a real guy, right? Like,
And they went back to being like not a democracy, but whatever. They went back to a republic or whatever for a little bit.
Isn't like 100 AD, so we're talking post-Jesus, right? This is post-Jesus.
By 150 years,
right?
Yes.
They've already crucified him at that point, right?
Yes, that's the
Romans.
That's ancient
right?
history. That's ancient history at this point. That was what I mean. Before anybody's
is Maximus Jesus? I guess is that question been answered?
I don't think so.
No, he's not.
He has a son, and he goes to Valhalla or wherever it is. What's their? I don't know what the Romans' afterlife is.
That's the Vikings, buddy.
Oh, sorry. My apologies.
Yeah.
What are the Roman afterlife?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Actually, just while we were sitting here, I ordered the book Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. So I'm multitasking here. I want to read that.
Oh, good.
I've heard it's good. Stoic philosophy. Apparently, he was the founder of.
Wow,
sure.
what a learned man you are.
Yeah, I'm trying to get up to your guys' level since I'm such a big goon here.
But you're right that it's like a simple premise, Kevin. I mean, it really is just a revenge story. I mean, it's relatively straightforward. There's not a lot of nuance, and there doesn't need to be. I mean, we know that he's betrayed, who he's betrayed by, why he's betrayed very early on, and basically we're just rooting for him to get his revenge the whole time. We're waiting for him to get back there, and it's awesome.
I question the plan by Commodus, right? So he offers Maximus, like, come join me. My father's dead. Like, I'm going to be Caesar. Join me and help me rule the army. And Maximus is a little bit like, I don't fucking believe this. And he doesn't bend the knee immediately. So then Commodus is like, fine, I'll just kill you and your whole family. Like the leader of the general of the army, you're just going to do that? It seems like a terrible plan. I don't know.
Why is it terrible?
What was he going to do? Let him live and have him?
Well,
it would have been a civil war if he lives. I mean, he does live in the end, but that's a fuck up by his men. If he kills Maximus, there's no power struggle.
I just think there's a better way to handle that, right? Okay, you kill your dad, you become Caesar, and you go to Maximus and be like, because I suppose the Commodus didn't know that his dad. Well, he did know. He did know that his dad told Maximus that he was going to take over when.
I don't know if you do that or not, but I think you
because he tells him, he says Maximus will take over, and that's what triggers him to.
But he didn't know that he had told Maximus that. He just said, "This is my plan, son."
That's true.
You're not going to inherit.
He didn't know that Maximus knew that already. You're right.
Yeah, he may have. He may have. I don't know. But I think the key thing that happens is that they wake Maximus up and they say, "Your emperor needs you," and he gets up and he goes, and the emperor is Joaquin Phoenix, and he clocks immediately what happened, and Joaquin Phoenix.
The sister's crying. She's sitting there crying. Yeah.
Yeah, and his
former lover.
Yeah, Commodus offers his hand. Joaquin Phoenix is like, submit to me. He already asked for his help. Like, I'm going to need your help when the time comes. Submit to me. And he deliberately doesn't do that. And he knows.
Very Ned Stark.
Yes, he's absolutely Ned Stark. He's the kind of guy that I see why you like. He feels like a man for all seasons guy. It's just kind of like
his principles.
Stannis, but not without the child sacrifice. Stannis Baratheon. And all the weird witchcraft. Commodus knows Maximus is not going to be on my side. There's no point. He knows Maximus doesn't need to think about it. He knows Maximus has already decided what he's going to do. So if he lets Maximus live, Maximus is going to get his men and have a fight that Maximus will almost certainly win because he's better at combat. So he's got to get rid of Maximus as quickly as possible so that he can just subsume the throne. I get why he does. It makes total sense. And if his men had killed Maximus,
how does he explain that to the army though? Because there isn't a reference the guy from Braveheart later on. He's like, our men are in a different country. Like, we're not in Rome. We're waiting for you or waiting for somebody, right? Because so doesn't the whole army then just disband?
I don't know if they disband. I don't know, or they go back to their homes. I don't know what I don't know what Maximus's army writ large does. But he tells.
I'm just saying, if you're Commodus, you risk losing your army by killing Maximus. I think that's a gamble.
I don't. Well, maybe, but if you don't get rid of Maximus, you for sure lose his army, and you have to fight it. You're looking at risking losing
he
a
needed a
chunk
little
of your
softer
army.
touch. He needs some diplomacy instead of this like bend the knee or die.
I mean, I don't know. I think Commodus is he makes a couple mistakes here and there, but I don't think that's one of them. I don't think he had any good options.
So you're pro killing Maximus's family
in terms of game theory and being a sound move, cold-blooded. Yeah.
Well, Ben's a real Commodus type over here, real Commodus defender.
But if I'm Commodus, I also don't want powers, so I wouldn't have killed my dad.
I wouldn't have expected that. Ben's defending Commodus on this podcast.
No, we're defending the soundness of his strategy, not the morality of his strategy, Eric.
Sure, right.
You're saying he made a misstep. If he
I think it was a misstep.
different course of action, things would have turned out better for him. And I'm saying
it's a tactical error, I think.
What would have been a better choice? What diplomacy are you referring to? How would you?
You could imprison Maximus.
Okay,
you didn't have to kill his family and his wife. Like that does nothing.
That
for
would
him.
maybe made more sense. You keep them hostage or something.
Yeah,
that might work. If you keep them hostage, then you have you can maybe say, hey, you go.
You could even blame Maximus for killing Marcus Aurelius. Like there's other things you could do there. Like I don't know, send him out to the woods with a bunch of weak soldiers, and Maximus is gonna kill him. That's just a terrible plan. It's also the like Dr. Evil. We got him right here. Just kill him right here. You don't send him away to.
And then they lied about it and they said he was dead when he wasn't.
Right.
I mean, sure, that might have been an overstep, but the hostage thing works. But I think if you let him live without some sort of leverage, he's going to fight you and you're going to lose. I just don't think there's any way you're going to convince him or his men of anything other than this guy's a scumbag and we're going to fight and there's going to be a big civil war for power in Rome. But anyway, fair enough.
Where
You don't think
stand,
it was a good
Kevin?
call?
Are you pro Commodus?
I think it was his only move to kill Maximus.
So you're saying you morally approve of everything he does because you think it was a tactically sound move. You're saying you're pro murdering women.
So
and
you're
children.
saying
That's what that means.
if there was an election in Rome and you could have voted for Commodus or Maximus, you're casting your vote for Commodus.
Wow. Well, Marcus Aurelius, he was too old. He should have stepped down.
He should have stepped down earlier. He should have. He held on for too long. Oh, very Biden-esque for
very Biden.
Oh, this is great.
He tried to dissolve the presidency.
I'm enjoying this. It was rigged. It was totally rigged for him. So does Baron do the same? Does Baron take old Don back and hug him and say, or is that more? That's more like a Don Jr. thing. Of all of your virtues, I have none. What do you think? What do you think Trump's virtues, his list of virtues, are? Strength,
charisma,
McDonald's.
How is that just he's really good at eating McDonald's?
And he likes cooking it too. He likes cooking fries.
He can wolf down a Big Mac with the best of them, Joey Chestnut style. Okay. Sure.
Lust is definitely a
skills, special skills. Just says McDonald's.
Yeah.
Lust, did you say?
Yeah, you got to have lust. That's got to be one of your virtues. It's a sin and a virtue, right? It can be both.
Lying. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, there you go.
That'd be an adept skill. Shamelessness. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, Commodus is the first great villain. He's awful. Even if he makes a tactical error or not, he's really vile. And he's, trying to cement himself as an evil guy. At one point, he threatens to murder his nephew and force his sister to be his sex slave. Like that's pure lunatic insanity.
Yeah.
And that was him being merciful.
Mm-hmm.
Just absolutely lunatic.
And you guys are on board. You guys have already said in this podcast you're on board with it all. We heard it here.
Yeah, that's what that means. Think he made a sound tactical move means I approve of everything he ever does. That's exactly what it means. But it's nice. I mean, you get to know the characters. Keep it moving. You get some nice. You get the early scene where yes, they're in. I mean, yeah, it's Germany technically, but Germany doesn't exist as a country till like the 19th century. But it's just a bunch of tribes of people.
Well, yeah, because the Roman Empire was vast, right? It went all over Europe, essentially.
That's the first title card we get. Is like it stretched all the way to England, all the way to North Africa, and most of Europe.
That's crazy on horses, like that they took over that much land, and
I mean they
had that much influence.
They were like 2 weeks away from Rome. It took them 2 weeks.
And now Rome is a tiny little city in Italy.
Yeah.
And there aren't are there even Romans anymore? Is anybody a Roman? No, they're just Italian, right?
Correct. Unless you consider the Catholic Church to be Roman, but that was the branding thing they did a long time ago, the Roman Catholic Church.
So Jesus had his revenge on the Romans. He took it over and now the Vatican's there.
Okay.
Right?
Wow.
Are you just viewing entirety of history as like the Jesus revenge arc? I'm confused.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Interesting. I don't know.
Because the Romans were heathens, right? They weren't, I mean, they believed in like.
Well, they took the Greek gods, right? Like Greek they stole them and made Roman versions of the Greek gods. And they had probably stuff that was even earlier than that. I mean, the Roman Empire was how many hundreds of years old at this point? Like 500 years old?
Sure.
I don't know. I did like, so this is certainly not anything I knew about in the early 2000s. So when they're at the Colosseum and they're doing like a recreation of the second fall of Carthage or whatever, it's like, oh, I get that reference. Oh, Hannibal, I get that reference. Oh yeah, that's when Hannibal was almost marched on Rome. But he didn't.
Oh, and that where Phoenix is like, forgive me if my history isn't correct, but don't the Romans win this battle or something like that?
Yeah. It's like, oh, I get that.
The gladiators are supposed to be the
losing side. They're all supposed to die.
Yeah,
and
right.
Russell Crowe being just so good at what he does, he led them all to victory. I
love that scene. Like the guy pisses himself and Russell Crowe steps back. It's like the best scene in the movie. That battle.
Oh, that action sequence is the best. I would agree.
I think so.
It's the most impactful. The one is more epic at the beginning, but it's also like clinical, and you're not super invested. You're like, oh, they're just going to win this battle, and like there aren't emotional stakes yet. Those come later. No, that's the most exciting because
that scene to me is like literally why I love movies. It's you just shut your brain off. And you're like transported in the Colosseum. Well, they're not in the Colosseum at that point, right? Or are they? I can't remember. They are. Yeah, they are, right? That's the first battle in the Colosseum, right?
Yeah.
Yep. You're there. You're just there. You're experiencing a battle in the Colosseum. It's so awesome. It's like that to me is like the power of movies and why I love movies.
Well, that and the tiger fight, like where he's fighting the guy that comes out of retirement with the mask on. And they have like all the tigers jumping out of pits. It's also just, whoa, that's fucking crazy as well. No, it's fantastic. No, I would say that's where it really just peaks out. But I mean, let's talk about the ending a little bit. I mean, he's got this plan to escape. He's going to get to his men and they're going to march on Rome and seize power. And I would have loved to have seen that battle. By the way, I mean, obviously that's probably would have been $100 million just for that sequence. But it was like, man, if we'd gotten that, I probably would have been happier. But they made it work with the smaller scale. I mean, it really is just him in the arena against Joaquin Phoenix. And it's very small scale, but I think it really works pretty well.
It's very satisfying.
I was surprised. I was let down for a half a second. I'm like, you know what? Actually, this works pretty well. I mean, I would have liked to have seen the like Siege of Rome or whatever that made up. This worked really well. And Joaquin Phoenix realizing that absolutely everybody hates him. Like in the end, nobody will give him a sword. Like, shield your swords. And he looks around. He's like, when it comes down to it, he's just utterly powerless. On his own hubris, thinking he could win in the arena. I don't know. It's great. This is just it's built up. We get the confrontation between the antagonist and the protagonist, and it does work really well. It's stripped down. We tie up all the loose ends. She doesn't have to be a sex slave after all. I guess the nephew is going to be the next, or there's not going to be another Caesar, so he's just going to be some kid.
I don't know if this is a spoiler, but the lead in Gladiator 2, I believe, is supposed to be that kid.
That's fine. I don't know that I would call that a spoiler. That seems like the setup.
I think that's been discussed in the promotion of the movie. I think the Maximus is, this is Commodus's nephew is who the lead is in Gladiator 2. I can't remember, what's the actor's name? What is his name? He plays like basically the Gladiator in Gladiator 2. I don't know how that kid becomes like a...
Well, he idolizes the Gladiator, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I am the great Maximus.
Paul Mescal. Lucius.
Oh, okay.
He plays Lucius.
That's him. Okay. That's interesting. Didn't know that. I didn't know how they were going to tie the two together. And in the end, you get this belief that, Rome's going to go back to being a republic. And hey, at least for a little bit, the autocracy is over. You get the epic hero's death, and he gets to go to the afterlife with his wife and son forever. Like, does the kid age in the afterlife, or is he just stuck being 8? Or can he go anywhere? Can he do anything?
I just love with the Diamond Hansu, that the scene where he's like, "You'll see them again, but not yet." And Russell Crowe's like, "Yeah, not yet, not yet." That gets me, man. That really gets me. I love that scene.
Yeah, I mean, another one will surprise me. So Proximo is the old gladiator, who's like kind of a hedonist. He's like, we're all ashes and dust. Our lives are just these quick whirlwinds of nothing. I just want to make money. I don't care about fighting Rome. And in the end, he does the right thing, even though it's for a trap. I wanted him to fight, whereas another one where it was like managing. I wanted him to go down swinging. But then he does just hold the sword he was given when he was freed, and just lets himself be stabbed. And there's just like, okay, there's also sort of there's something poetic about that. Just not even, they're going to assail me quickly.
But because he had won his freedom as a gladiator, I'm in the same mind. I would have liked to see him take out a couple of the
Praetorians. Go down swinging. He's not going to win, but go down fighting like he did his entire life. But in the end, he holds his sword and...
You knew Marcus Aurelius.
I didn't say I knew him.
I did
said
say
he touched my shoulder.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, great movie, guy. Great pick, Kevin. Real solid choice.
You do a great Russell Crowe.
Well, we haven't talked... Austin, he's so good in this movie, too. We talked a lot about Joaquin Phoenix. Obviously, the accent... He's supposed to be a Spaniard. I don't know why there's no reason for him to be a Spaniard, because he's not a real person.
Well, I think they wanted him not to live in Rome. They wanted him to write. So he lives in Rome as in the Spanish colony territory, whatever, that Rome controlled. So he's technically Roman.
But that's also, he rides from Germany to because he's at the camp in Germany when he's betrayed. And then they take him, I don't know where they take him to kill him. But then from there, he rides to Spain, right?
Yep.
To see to cross France. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty far.
Germany is vague, too. I mean, it's like, there's a big, long chunk of land where he could be.
Isn't that going west? Isn't that going west and then east, right? No? And then to go back to Rome?
I mean, I assume he'd have to go west and south to some degree to get to Spain, wouldn't he?
Yeah, from Germany, right?
Again, it could
from
be
wherever,
Belgium,
somewhere.
right?
Right, sure.
It could be somewhere in Northern Europe. But yeah, I mean, he barely makes it. He's passed out on his horse. But yeah, I mean, he rode for weeks, I would assume.
weeks. It would take weeks, right, to get
weeks
across Europe on a horse. How fucking long would that take? Forever.
And I assume you had to stop and eat occasionally. I know we don't see that, but it's like, I mean, at some point, you would. You're wounded. And
I mean, if it's movie bullshit. Like, we don't need to see him like, stopping, and
he makes it. He doesn't die. Whatever.
Right.
Like, probably you would die in real life, but whatever. He's a mythical character basically, so he doesn't. That's fine. Russell Crowe's very good. I don't think he has, as an actor, a complete range. I think he's got a commanding presence. He's charismatic. I believe him as this like stoic guy who just wants to farm and bone his wife, and eat figs, but fights just because he happens to be really good at it, and it's necessary as a civic duty. I don't know. I didn't buy the scene where he sees his wife and son, like he gets back to his estate. The face he was making was like, I know he was going for sad. It didn't quite work. I didn't love that, but we don't see that too much. And the plot just carries the momentum and the emotion forward.
There's a Reddit thread about how long it would take a wounded Maximus to go from Germany to Spain. There's a whole on a horse. That's
okay.
Fine. Yeah, the thread is like there's no way he could do that in one day.
Yes,
But
he couldn't do it in one day.
I don't think that they imply that he did it in one day. It's whatever.
No, and
Some time passed.
And I don't think it would be. I think he would even be close to saving them in reality, like a bunch of like whatever the Romans equivalent of a messaging system.
There's still smoke, right? Like when he gets there, there's still smoke.
Yeah, it's basically Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru.
Like, oh shit, we just missed him. Yeah,
like no, they'd be long dead. I think probably wouldn't be close, but that's okay. Again, you forgive it. It's doing movie magic stuff, and that's fine. And then he just passes that. And I guess the slave guy finds him laying there. I don't really remember how he got from like there to the slave caravan. He gets maggots in his arm, which are going to clean the wound. And he ends up in North Africa somewhere. And then he does some grubby fights. Those earlier fights are my least favorite because those are the ones that are cut really fast, especially that first time he goes in the arena, not in Rome, but wherever that is that they have the fights.
The first time he refuses to fight. I mean, when they're like training, he's like, I'm not going to fight. And then.
Yeah, not the training sequence. When they go to the actual Coliseum where like, if he doesn't fight, he'll be killed. And so he does actually fight.
How many of you were in the army? And then he kind of gets them to work together.
But it cuts really fast. And I lost the thread. We're hopping around to a bunch of random dudes that we don't know super well yet. And I couldn't hardly tell what was happening. And everybody's chained together. That was my least favorite, only because it was just very tough to tell what was going on. Once they get to the Coliseum, and then the fighting becomes pretty immaculate and fantastic. I feel good. This is great.
Well, I liked how the early fights were edited because that's how frantic and disjointed you would feel if you were just thrown out somewhere. I thought that captured that feeling pretty well.
Yeah, me too.
I suppose. I don't want to be disoriented. I don't need to get the perspective of him. I want to just enjoy the fight because I didn't think Russell Crowe was going to die. But I get it. It was chaotic and some dudes just get stabbed. All of a sudden there's a sword in you or whatever other implement is impaling
It's
you.
a little jarring because there's that one and then it skips to where everybody's chanting his name and he's just like, he goes out there by himself and kills like 6 guys. And that's where you get the famous, are you not entertained?
Yeah, he throws the sword into the audience because he despises.
All-time great movie line. I think that's a top 5 all-time great movie line.
Well, you were entertained, weren't you? Right? Like you threw it and you're like, I am entertained, Russell.
Yeah.
I'm entertained.
Is this not why you're here?
Or is it mocking us for enjoying Gladiator and its violence? Is it critical of us?
Could be.
Okay.
He's speaking to you.
Sure. It's a simple, straightforward premise that's super well executed. I just kept thinking of Ben-Hur. I love the lighting. It's lit in a way that not a lot of movies are lit. Well, I already talked about it, but like all the scenes, like with the shadows and light, inside the throne palace, wherever it is, where not Proximo, Commodus is all the time. It's like, man, I love the lighting in this. I love the way the light creeps through, peers through behind some shades, and then just walking through just little like droplets of light. It's great. Man.
The other thing that hit me watching this movie is like, isn't that kind of just what football is to us now?
Oh, of course.
I mean, isn't it like the same thing? Yes, obviously we're not watching them literally kill each other, but we kind of are.
Well, they're shortening their lifespans for our entertainment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're just slamming into each other, and
Yeah, it hits our Paleolithic like brains,
It's
our
the
tribal
same
brains.
lizard
We're-
brain. Yeah,
Yes, engaging in that same function.
cheering with a giant hit where a guy gets leveled on the ground. Yeah, like, it's
I hate those Wisconsinites. The Packers
Right.
suck. I hate them. I hate the state of Wisconsin. Oh, they're all scum. Yes, and yes, indulging all those.
boo Aaron Rodgers. Ugh, thumbs down. Like,
You're not in my tribe. Screw you. I hate you.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
the USC plays in the Coliseum, right? That's what that building is called, and they're the Trojans. I know
Mhm.
it's not the Romans, but
should they change their name to the USC Romans?
they should. Or Minnesota Golden Romans. No, it doesn't have a ring to it.
It
There
doesn't.
isn't a Romans sports or college team. What's up with that?
Yeah, I don't think they go with Trojans. You get Spartans. Yeah, I don't know.
Rome shaming. What's up with that?
Well, they're shaming because they don't have a mascot. Is what you're
Yeah.
saying?
Well, yeah.
You want
They're
some
being
affirmative
excluded.
action Roman mascots? You want to be
Right. We have the Fighting Irish. Like, what the fuck is
the
that?
Vikings?
Yeah.
Geez, making fun of the Norse.
Yeah.
I don't have an answer for you. I'm sorry. There isn't a Roman mascot in sports. Maybe at high school level there is. I don't know. Yes, it's absolutely the same impulse. Oh yeah, it's the same thing. You just have these like friggin' Neolithic brains. That's the whole thing. When they like people like being associated with victory and this mass cultural identity because they're talking about why they even had to go to Germania and fight some tribe. They had to all, take weeks and weeks and weeks to go fight some battle way far away from actual Italy and Rome. Well, people liked the battles because it gives them a sense of identity, a shared cultural experience of victory. People are like, hey, I'm part of Romans and we kick the ass of some
That's
tribe
that's
somewhere
so
else.
crazy to think like you're just some farmer in wherever, and you're like, hey, the news travels. Hey, we won this huge battle in Germania. Like, oh yeah, we kicked those
We kick ass. We're the
barbarians'
best,
ass.
aren't we?
Like,
Aren't we
yeah.
the best?
Right.
Yeah.
Such a weird thing, but it's such, that's like a human instinct.
It is.
Did you see the Vikings? They won on Sunday. Yeah, we kicked their ass. It's the same idea, right?
Yeah, fuck Jacksonville. What a
Right.
shithole that place is. Not nice like our place, right? Our place has no problems. Theirs has lots of them.
You think you would have been a good gladiator?
Yeah, I would have been great, Eric. I would have won so many battles.
Well, you got all the tactical stuff down.
I would be like 550,001. In fact, I'd be so good they just use me as a one-man army. They'd be like, hey, you're going to go to Germania and you're going to single-handedly win this battle for us.
You think they have advanced
They're willing
stats
to-
for the gladiators? Yeah, like wins
They were
against
placing
replacement.
bets. Did you see? They had
They
a big
were,
betting
yeah.
board.
Yeah.
They were taking money.
Is there
They were-
odds? You think Maximus? He must have.
I assume there were odds. They had, I'm sure, enough of an understanding of math to be like, what are the odds the Romans lose? I'll give you 100 to 1 or whatever, like, sure, they're trying to entice bets against the home team. No, I would have been a shitty gladiator. I grew up soft in the 1980s. These people like grew up like having to walk and fight and claw and just be badasses all the I can't even fathom like growing up learning how to fight when you're 8 or whatever. Like, you're 8 now. Here's a sword. Learn to fucking kill, or else you're a pussy.
No
Like,
concussion protocol, I don't think. With
it's
that,
like you had to get good at killing real early, like all over the place. So I can't even fathom. I would die instantly. I would be the guy pissing himself I'd get stabbed, and that'd be end. How about you, Eric? Would you dominate? You're a big, strong, manly man. Would you just dominate? You're not
No.
soft. You just get results.
No, I would have a hard time sticking a sword through another person. I think that would be a difficult thing for me to do.
So you just
never done that. I've never done that before. So.
I think even lifting those weapons were probably so heavy. Like, I bet some of those weapons were like 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds. It's like even getting a good swing in is something I don't think I could do. I think it'd be like...
Well, the choice of weapons interesting. The one big guy had that like sort of whip thing, or I don't even know what you call it, but he was kicking ass with that. He had the one sort of spear, and then he was like whacking dudes with the... I'd want like a long range bow and arrow, maybe. No, there weren't any like bow and arrow guys.
There were some. They got killed. There were people in bow and arrows when they did the recreation
on the
battle.
chariot things.
But even that, you have to be really strong to be able to pull a bow back and get it taut.
Yeah,
like that self is like, it's not like modern bows where they do a lot of that for you. It's literally, you had to be really fucking strong to do that and practice accuracy. Even if people are like, you imagine how inaccurate you'd be? Like, here's your bow and arrow. We're going to give you 10 arrows, Eric. This person's going to be 20 feet away. If you kill them, you win. But if you don't hit them in 20 arrows, they're going to stab you in the face.
Definitely would want a shield. I don't want a big shield. You got to have pretty wicked shield. How heavy do you think those
fucking shields were? Like,
probably really heavy, yeah.
Like, just think like when people, since they're at like a young age, just learn to fight.
You think, what if the three of us are chained together in the...
I think we're all going to die.
What's our move? What's our move?
Bicker and then get stabbed, probably. You do this. No, you do this.
They come up to kill us, and we're just like arguing with each other.
Yep. Some meathead.
You think we could just do a podcast for the gladiators?
Sure. You think they'd find that interesting? We have magic powers. We can record conversations. Ooh.
Well, it's like there's one scene where they had the play where they were reenacting the battle. It's the same idea.
It is, except for it's a play, not like recorded audio. Which I don't think
just yapping, Joe Rogan style.
Yeah, you think that would have resonated?
Yeah.
I can't even fathom. There's like some people that grew up on horseback, like at the age of like 2 or 3, they like learned to ride horses, and they had like like Attila the Hun kind of stuff where they could just ride on horses and hit targets really far away, sideways, just all this like bonkers stuff. So no, I would not last long. I don't think any of us would. I would bet heavily against any of us surviving. Sorry. If they put you in the Coliseum, Eric, I'd put 100 whatever. What's the Roman currency? Denaries. I don't know. I'd put 100 denaries against you. Sorry.
Denarii.
I would be entertained. I can tell you that much, Eric.
Gladiator over Thrones? I think Gladiator is better than Game of Thrones.
I mean, on the whole, sure.
As
Gladiator's
a property.
Gladiator's like a 2-hour movie versus if you turn Gladiator into a 5-season show, you'd have a hard time stretching that.
The best of Thrones is not as good as the best of this movie.
Well, the very best of Thrones resonates with me more than this.
Battle of the Bastards, maybe. Yeah, it might be on par. Yeah.
Like the Red Wedding and the crazy betrayals and just the dramatic moments.
Yeah.
Are fantastic, but the lows are god awful. So how do you average it out? If Gladiator had 6 seasons, there'd be some shitty ones in there.
We should do. Why didn't they do like a Gladiator? You could do a series.
I don't need a series of this. This is what you do. This is pretty tight, little over 2 hours.
So you don't need a sequel either then?
Probably not, but I'd rather have a sequel than a series. Like, okay, you want to continue the story? Crank it out another 2.5 hours. Sounds good. I don't need a bunch of dramatic filler. I don't need a romantic subplot where like we get more drawn out love scenes between him and his old girlfriend. And
I think that's the weakest of this movie is the Commodus stuff. Like, I think there's too much of it.
Too much of Commodus.
The sister. Yeah, there's just too much of that. There's maybe too many scenes of.
Well, the whole thing is it's a rivalry between Commodus and Maximus. Really, is what it comes down to. Just primordial. My dad loved you more than me. Meh, is the fundamentals of the emotions of this movie.
And his sister.
I know they were fighting over the sister. He was upset. Commodus was upset that like his sister was attracted to Maximus. Like, jealous. Okay. You are a weird dude, Commodus. Very weird dude. This works because of its simplicity. We don't need a drawn out, complicated narrative. What works because it's to the point, and the action sequences are really good, and you get invested in the characters. You know, you get invested in seeing him get his revenge. He gets it. Hey, I had a good time. I don't know. Do you need a bunch more betrayals? Do you need a big Senate fight, Eric? Do you need to learn who 8 senators are and some power struggle within? No.
But that's what Thrones is. Thrones would spend a whole season on that shit. Yeah.
Right. It's kind of different things. I don't know that Thrones has a single action sequence that I love quite as well. I don't know. But I think of like the fight between the guy from Dorne, Pedro Pascal's character,
who's also plays a big part in Gladiator too.
That fight was excellent. I mean, there's some excellent one-off fights. Yeah, it is. But it gets undercut.
What were you gonna say, Kevin?
Oh, I didn't realize Pedro Pascal was in Gladiator too.
Yeah, he's like the second lead, I think.
Wow.
I think Denzel's maybe like a supporting is the sense I get. Very
Denzel's getting all the buzz though.
Yeah.
I think he's got the Oscar buzz going.
Well, and there's like a lot of criticism because it's not historically accurate. That doesn't mean it's a fiction. Like I don't need it to be historically accurate.
Wonder. You can have fake history, but you can't have fake future. You're so funny. If we set Gladiator in the year 2018, you'd hate it because it'd be an inaccurate prediction of the future, but set it in a fake past and you're fine with it.
If it's supposed to be in the future in the world we live in right now, then yes, this is just a fiction. It doesn't. You can do whatever you want.
But not if you create a sci-fi movie that's set in the future.
To a certain extent, I guess. I don't know.
You fascinate me. I mean, I don't care that it's made up. This is just a fun story. I don't need to be historically accurate any more than I need Gladiator 2 to be historically accurate. It's whatever.
Galaxy far away, time long ago. Okay, good enough explanation for me. Do whatever you want then. I don't care. But when you say it in the year 2035,
in the year 180 AD, which this didn't happen, but you said a year.
Yeah, but like the criticism is like, well, they didn't have crossbows in 180. Like, whatever. Like,
but you make the same criticisms. We didn't have this technology or this problem in the year 2018. So why did you set it in 2018? This isn't how it happened.
No, but we do have
China
it.
Didn't happen.
Yeah, whatever.
I know. You fascinate me. It's fine. Whatever. I agree with you about Gladiator. Who cares? It's a historical epic that's made up. They made it up. It's believable enough. They did enough work to make it feel like Rome 180 AD. That's fine. I can enjoy it.
I mean, if all of a sudden a guy had a cell phone, I'd be like, well, that's stupid. Or there's a bottle of water laying around. I'd be like, yeah, that's kind of dumb. But
did you ever see A Knight's Tale with Heath Ledger?
Uh-huh.
Did that bother you with the modern music playing?
No, not too bad. That's just not a very good movie, but
no, it's not. It's not Gladiator. The action sequence.
Isn't it like "We Will Rock You"? Don't they play that in one scene or something like that?
They play like modern rock songs, and he's really good at jousting and fighting. But it's
that's a choice.
And silly.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just curious. All right. Well, Erica, I don't think there's any reason to add. This is a 5 out of 5 for you, right? What's the
absolutely with a bullet? This is like an all-time great movie for me.
Better than Twister?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Twister, I just love. This movie I love, and I think it's great.
Okay. Wait, so you don't think Twister's great?
Twister's great for what it is. Don't. I won't stand for the Twister slander.
I'm just repeating what you
said. You're trying.
You said you love Twister, but Gladiator you love, and it's great.
If
Why
Twister
not?
had been a Best Picture winner, I'd have been like, maybe not. This wins Best Picture. I'm like, yeah, it should, because it's great.
Okay. You'd have been upset if Mission Impossible 2 won Best Picture over this?
I would, yes.
Okay.
It was definitely nominated, though, right? It was in the running.
Oh, yeah. Very close.
What were the
Not
other? That'd be an interesting.
It's too early for Lord of the Rings. We didn't get the first one till the year later, so it's not Fellowship yet.
So is it the 99? No.
For the year 2000, the 2001 awards for the year 2000.
Well, oh, right. So this is, yeah, so it would have been in 2001. Right? Yeah. Yes. Right. Yeah, Crow wins. Was Joaquin Phoenix nominated? Actor in a supporting role. He was. He did actually.
I was like,
get
that makes
nominated.
sense. He should have been. He
Yeah.
was pretty excellent.
But I think didn't. Who won that? Did Benicio? No. I don't know. I can't see here who won.
Was Traffic in one of the movies?
Traffic was the same year. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Best Picture was Gladiator, Chocolat, Crouching Tiger, Aaron Brockovich, and Traffic.
Okay.
Year for movies.
Yeah. Never seen Chocolat. Is that?
You would hate it.
That?
You would hate
Would
it.
I? Okay.
This, you would be annoyed. You would be like, why is this even being compared to my beloved Gladiator?
Insulted by
Childish
its
and pathetic.
existence.
Yes, this is pathetic. This is a
You know, I
shame.
didn't love Traffic. Maybe I need to watch that again.
I didn't love
I mean-
Traffic either, but I respect it.
I get exactly what you're saying. It's like it's trying to do some interesting stuff. I don't know if it sticks the landing. It's pretty cynical about the war on drugs and the futility of it.
And preachy. Oh, brother, we're out though. Not even nominated. That's a crime.
Sorry, it's a musical. I don't know, man.
Instead
Yeah,
of
exactly.
Chocolat, should have been Oh Brother.
Well, now I want to pick Chocolat just so I can see you be incredulous that this was considered one of the 5 best movies of the year 2000. I can't even hardly remember the plot. I just don't think there's a thing that happens in it that you would like. But Kevin, where are you at with Gladiator?
Well, I remember watching it in the theater and being blown away by it, and I've watched it a few times since, and it's been at least a decade since I've watched it, and I really enjoyed my rewatch. It holds up. It's a beautiful movie to watch. The acting I thought was good. It's a 5-star movie for me.
I am almost there. I'm at 4.5, and I don't have a great reason why I would knock it off. It just didn't quite go to the crazy, awesome 5-star immaculate land. It's excellent. I don't have any serious. I don't love the early fight scenes. A couple of times I go with Crow, and I think, okay.
It's too entertaining
It's
for it to be a 5-star movie.
Yeah, that's it. It's really
wasn't
fun.
boring. Wasn't boring enough.
It didn't make me think at all. And that's exactly why you like it. Like, this is what I want. I want a movie that doesn't. I don't want any neurons firing while I watch this bad boy. I want everything to just go dormant. But that's okay. I don't actually have to have that from a 5-star movie necessarily, but just didn't quite elevate me to the 5-star level. But it's excellent. Worth a rewatch. You guys, wait, so how long was your version? Because you guys did the director's cut with extra 15 minutes. We didn't talk about this.
I have the theatrical version. So I don't know.
I have the extended. I don't know what the 15 minutes were.
Okay.
I mean, if I watched them back to back, I'd probably know, but it's been too long.
Yeah, it was on Paramount Plus, so I ended up not getting it on DVD, and it was just the theatrical cut that was on Paramount Plus. Okay. Well, let's get you boys prepped for next week. This movie was released in the year of our Lord, 1987.
1987.
1987.
So just reading there's so sorry. We can
You're
get back
fine.
to your.
Nope.
There's deleted
Done.
scenes. Some people say it's the improved version. So was there a scene where involving Joaquin Phoenix and archers? Was there like an archer scene? And
There
it's
might
a
have
little
been.
gorier.
I don't.
That's all. I know. That's all I can
Okay.
gather from my crude internet searching. Sorry, 1997, you said?
No.
No,
1987.
way off. 87.
No, a decade. 1987. It's fine.
1987.
I'm going to read this section from the Wikipedia page. In August 2020, a remake of this movie was reported to be in development with Will Smith and Kevin Hart as the leads. In February 2023, Hart confirmed that the writing was already underway. In December 2022, it was announced that another remake film was in the work with Drew Barrymore and Adam Sandler in the leading roles. Is that helpful at all? Are you familiar with?
From Kevin Hart and Will Smith to Drew Barrymore and Adam Sandler.
Correct.
Oh, I bet this is it's a comedy, right?
It is a comedy.
Yeah. Is it like Trading Places or something like that?
Not Trading Places.
No.
You're on the right track, but it's not Trading Places. I like Trading Places quite
It's
a
an
bit.
Eddie Murphy movie?
It is not an Eddie Murphy movie.
No.
Nope. I'll give you one of the actors in the movie is Kevin Bacon.
Tremors?
No, it's not Tremors. I love the idea of a Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore remake of Tremors, though. That
Will
sounds
Smith,
insane.
Kevin Hart, and Tremors would be great.
Well, that one would make sense. I can't imagine. Can't even conceptualize an Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore version of
Ooh,
Tremors.
there's a worm.
Such as a worm, shampoo is better. Look out for the worms. They send sound. Give me some candy. Okay.
I'm sorry,
It's not
baby.
Footloose, is it?
It's not Footloose. And I was really mean with the Kevin Bacon hit because he's got a very small role in this movie. He's actually not in a lead. Got it?
Okay. Is
He's
it
an early-
because it's Thanksgiving coming up?
Yeah. Yep. It is a Thanksgiving holiday movie. Yes. Have you got it figured out, Kevin?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Planes, trains.
Yep.
And automobiles. Yep. That's right. So Thanksgiving's coming up. This is, I don't watch it every year, but this is one of the movies I love. And I'm looking forward to Eric, you making me feel like a jackass for liking it and stupid and pathetic. So looking forward to you. Do you like this movie? Have you seen Planes, Trains, and Automobiles?
I've seen it. Yeah.
I love this movie.
Well, me too.
And I can't believe
I have a. Sorry.
Oh,
You're
I
fine.
can't imagine the remake. I'm so glad it's not made.
Correct. I
Just-
saw that. I was like, no to both.
Just hearing
of these.
that
No.
makes me mad. Yeah.
Yeah, no to both of these. If I were Lord of the Universe, these people would be sent to hell for even considering it. They would just be tortured. So Eric, you saw it and you have vague recollections of it?
No, I was just gonna say I kind of have a Steve Martin allergy.
See, of course. I knew it was something.
I remember
something.
one of the first times I spent time with my my father-in-law. He was not my father-in-law then, but we were playing the game Apples to Apples, and one of the cards came up was like Steve Martin, and someone said hilarious, and I was like, who would think Steve Martin is hilarious? And my father-in-law looked at me very seriously, and he was like, I think he's hilarious.
Dude, that's
I was like,
awesome.
oh, okay,
That's awesome.
all right.
I love
Okay,
that this
got
guy,
it.
Steve Martin, who's one of the biggest stand-up comics of like in the world. Who would think this guy is funny? That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So,
So,
Eric.
all right.
Well, so I'm looking forward to you being mildly annoyed by this movie, then, Eric. But I love it. This movie makes me very happy. I actually just started watching it, and I just couldn't stop. It's great.
Yeah,
One of the few
and-
Thanksgiving movies I'm aware of. I know there's like Thanksgiving or whatever, the Eli Roth movie, a few like schlocky horror movies. I don't know that many. Almost all Thanksgiving's so close to Christmas that when people do holiday movies, they go to Christmas. But Thanksgiving's coming up. I want to rewatch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Love John Candy. That's his best performance in his career. Anyway, we'll talk. Planes,
Yeah,
Trains, and
John
Automobiles.
Candy. Let's see. In 1987, he was only like 37 years old.
Sure.
So we're already older
Okay.
than John Candy was.
He to me he was always like an old guy. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, he looks very.
Yeah.
He looks old in this and everything. He looks old in Home Alone. Looks old in Vacation. Just anything. He's looked old in Spaceballs. Like this dude looked like he was like 40 years old. Kind of like Steve Martin. He's always just looked fucking old. He's never seemingly looked like a young person. It's on Tubi, so you don't have to pay if you can tolerate the commercials.
Tubi.
So anyway, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Awesome.
Also, it's also on Roger Ebert's great movie list, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, that's actually the first time I watched it. It's like, oh, this movie is stupendous. So, but if you don't like Steve Martin, we're fucked. You're gonna hate it. If he's on your shit list, your very long naughty list, Eric. It's just you're done. This movie's drawing dead. But
I'll give him a shot.
thanks, appreciate
All
it.
right.
Planes, Trains, and
We
Automobiles.
do it live. That goes in eternity.